Not everyone who hears your story wants to see you win. Your dream is a treasure. Don't hand it to people who see it as trash. Silence is sometimes the strongest voice you can have. In life, we all carry a story. Some stories are filled with victories, others with pain, struggles, or failures that shaped who we are. But one of the biggest mistakes many people make is thinking that their story must be shared with everyone. The truth is, not everyone deserves to hear your story, because not everyone is capable of handling it. Some people listen to understand, while others listen only to judge. And if you are not careful, you might end up exposing your dreams, your battles, and your plans to people who are not mature enough, wise enough, or supportive enough to carry that information with respect. Think about this. Your story is like a treasure. If you give it away freely to people who don't value it, they may step on it. They may laugh at you, belittle you, or simply dismiss what you've gone through as unimportant. You may tell them how hard you work to reach where you are, but instead of being inspired, they might say, "That's nothing special. Anyone could do it." If you tell them about your dream, they might say, "That's impossible. Don't waste your time." Suddenly, what you carried with pride and hope becomes a reason for someone else to inject doubt into your mind. That is why you must be selective about who you trust with your story. Not everyone has the heart to respect your struggles. Some people have never gone through what you went through, so they will not understand why you fought so hard. Some people will never appreciate the nights you stayed awake planning, the sacrifices you made, or the failures you had to overcome. Instead, they might mock you for trying too hard. They might even use your story against you. Have you ever noticed how people sometimes take your weakness and turn it into gossip? That's what happens when you tell your story to the wrong audience. What you share as vulnerability, they spread as entertainment. Protecting your story is about protecting your dignity and your energy. It doesn't mean you stay silent forever or hide who you are. It simply means you learn to value your journey. You should ask yourself, if I share this, will it empower me or will it weaken me? If I tell this person, will it be safe in their hands or will it be fuel for their judgment? When you understand that not everyone deserves your story, you begin to practice wisdom. You begin to share less, observe more, and focus your energy on action instead of endless explanation. There is also another truth here. Many times, people don't respond to your story the way you expect, not because your story is small, but because their vision is small. If someone has never dreamed big, they cannot understand your big dream. If someone has always chosen the easy path, they cannot understand your sacrifices. If someone has never failed and stood up again, they cannot understand your resilience. When you tell your story to them, you are asking for validation from the wrong source. They cannot give you encouragement because they themselves are not encouraged. And sometimes their disbelief in your story has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with their own limitations. Imagine planting a seed in dry soil. No matter how good the seed is, it won't grow. But if you plant the same seed in fertile ground, it will flourish. Your story works the same way. It needs the right soil. If you tell it to someone who has faith, they will water it with encouragement. If you tell it to someone who is jealous, they will try to choke it with negativity. That is why you must be careful. Not everyone deserves your story, because not everyone will give it the care and space it needs to grow. The world is full of people who are quick to judge but slow to understand. They look at you from the outside and assume they know everything. They don't see the battles you fought when nobody was watching. They don't see the rejections, the tears, the self-doubt you had to overcome. And if you are too quick to tell them your story, they might minimize it or worse, make you feel foolish for even trying. That's why silence can sometimes be more powerful than speaking. Let people see your results before they hear your story. Let your actions speak before your words. Another thing you must remember is that your story is not finished yet. Every day, you are still writing it. If you start sharing too much too soon, people may judge you based on an incomplete version of your journey. It's like showing someone the first chapter of a book and letting them decide if it's a good story. They don't know the twists, the victories, the endings that are yet to come. So why let their opinion of one unfinished chapter affect your determination to finish the whole book? This is why wisdom teaches us that sometimes the best way to honor your story is to guard it until the right moment. When the time is right and when the right people are listening, your story can inspire, empower, and change lives. But when told to the wrong crowd, it can be dismissed, mocked, or ignored. The difference is not in the story itself, but in the ears that hear it. Your story is your power. Do not give that power away carelessly. Some people are not ready for it. Some people don't deserve it. And some people will only understand it when they see the results of your persistence and courage. Every single one of us wakes up each morning with a certain amount of energy. That energy is like money in your pocket. You can spend it wisely, invest it carefully, or waste it on things that give you no return. When you tell your story to the wrong people, you are not just sharing words, you are spending energy, and sometimes it is energy you cannot afford to lose. The truth is, energy is one of the most valuable resources in life. Unlike money, you cannot earn it back in the same way. Once it's gone for that day. That is why protecting it is not an option, it is a necessity. Think about how many times you've explained your dreams, your plans, or your struggles to people who were never going to support you in the first place. How did you feel afterward? Often you walk away not uplifted, but drained. Why? Because instead of encouragement, you received criticism, doubt, or meaningless advice. Your energy was spent defending yourself instead of building yourself. And when this happens too often, you end up exhausted. Not because of the journey itself, but because of the unnecessary weight of other people's opinions. Energy must be treated like gold. The hours of the day are limited, but your energy is even more limited. You can waste an entire morning telling someone why your dream matters, or you can use that same time and energy to actually work on your dream. One path gives you results, the other gives you frustration. Successful people understand this difference. They don't spend their time trying to convince the world. They spend their time trying to create results. The results later do the talking. It's important to understand that not everyone around you is capable of handling your energy well. Some people are like a sponge. They absorb your energy without giving anything back. You talk to them hoping for encouragement, but they only leave you tired. Some people are like a mirror. They reflect your doubts back to you, making you question yourself even more. And then there are a few who are like a flame. They make your energy burn brighter. They listen, they encourage, they push you forward. The problem is, many people waste their limited energy on the first two groups instead of focusing it on the last one. Protecting your energy means learning when to be silent. It means realizing that explaining yourself to every person is not necessary. Sometimes you must remind yourself, I don't need to prove my story. I need to live my story. Every time you explain, every time you argue, every time you try to justify your journey to someone who doesn't even care, you are making a payment with your energy. And at the end of the day, you may find yourself bankrupt, tired, frustrated, and less motivated to keep going. Imagine energy like water in a bottle. If you pour it out for everyone who asks, soon you will be empty. And when the time comes when you really need that water, for the hard work, the late nights, the moments of resilience, you will find nothing left. That is why you must learn to close the bottle cap. Not everyone deserves a sip. Not every conversation deserves a piece of your energy. Not every critic deserves your explanation. Your energy belongs first to your growth, your vision, your mission. One of the most dangerous traps people fall in Two is the desire to be understood by everyone. You want your family to understand why you work so hard. You want your friends to understand why you don't go out as much. You want strangers to understand your struggle when you share it online. But here is the reality: most people will not understand, and that is okay. Understanding is not their job. Protecting your energy is your job. If you keep trying to make everyone understand, you will keep spending energy where there is no return. Focus on where your energy brings results. When you use it on your craft, your business, your learning, your growth, you see progress. When you waste it on defending your dream to doubters, you see nothing but discouragement. Protecting your energy is not about being cold or selfish. It's about being wise. It's about knowing that your journey is long, and you cannot afford to start it exhausted because you spent all your energy explaining instead of building. And here is another truth: energy attracts energy. When you keep your energy high and focused, you naturally attract people who operate on the same level. But when your energy is low because you gave it away carelessly, you attract people who feed on weakness, gossip, and negativity. Protecting your energy creates a shield around your focus, and that shield keeps you moving forward while others get stuck in endless circles of talk and doubt. At the end of the day, protecting your energy is about discipline. Discipline to walk away from pointless arguments. Discipline to stay silent when your instincts tell you this person won't understand. Discipline to use your energy for creation, not explanation. Every successful journey is powered by energy, and those who reach their destination are not always the most talented or the most intelligent. They are the ones who knew how to protect their energy and spend it wisely. One thing you will always notice in life is how easy it is for people to criticize. It costs them nothing. They can sit on the sidelines, watch what you are doing, and throw their opinions at you without ever lifting a finger to understand the work behind it. Criticism is free, and that is why people give it away so generously. But genuine support, encouragement, and belief in your vision, those are rare treasures, and you must learn to protect yourself from the imbalance between the two. When you share your story with the wrong people, you are opening the door for their criticism. You might think they will be inspired, but instead they give you a lecture about why your dream won't work. You might hope they will celebrate your progress, but instead they remind you of how much further you still have to go. Their words are easy for them, but heavy for you. And if you are not strong enough, their free criticism can cost you your confidence, your motivation, and sometimes even your belief in yourself. Imagine this: you tell someone about your plan to start a business. They have never run a business themselves, but they immediately say, "That's too risky, you're going to fail." It took you months of research, planning, and sleepless nights to prepare that vision, but it only took them 2 seconds to dismiss it. Their criticism cost them nothing, but it might have taken away a piece of your drive. That's why you need to be careful about who you let into your inner circle. Not everyone who listens is there to support you. Some are only there to judge. Support, on the other hand, is rare because it requires effort. To support someone, you need to care, to encourage, to lift them up when they are down, and to believe in them even when they haven't yet proven themselves. That takes emotional investment, and not everyone is willing to give that. Some people are too focused on their own lives. Others are too insecure to see you rise. And some simply don't know how to encourage because they were never encouraged themselves. That is why true supporters are like gems. You won't find many, but when you do, they are priceless. You must train yourself not to confuse criticism with truth. Just because someone says you cannot do something does not mean it's impossible. It only means they cannot see the possibility. Many critics are simply projecting their own fears onto you. They couldn't do it, so they assume you can't either. They gave up on their dreams, so they want you to give up too. Their criticism is not about your story, it is about theirs. When you understand this, you stop letting every negative word sink into your heart. You start filtering voices, keeping the ones that help you and discarding the ones that drain you. There is also a psychological trap hidden in criticism. Because criticism is so common and support is so rare, many people start valuing the criticism more than the encouragement. You could receive 10 compliments and 1 insult, and your mind will keep replaying the insult. Why? Because the human brain tends to focus on threats more than positivity. That is why you need to build mental strength. If you don't, you will end up giving more weight to the free criticism of strangers than to the genuine support of those who believe in you. Think about how unfair that is. Someone who has never invested a single hour in your life can discourage you with one careless comment, while someone who truly believes in you is often ignored. You must flip this pattern. You must train yourself to give more importance to the rare support than the cheap criticism. If someone supports you, treasure it, because that is where your fuel comes from. If someone criticizes you, remember that words are cheap. Anyone can talk. Few can build. There is another danger of sharing your story too widely. The more people know, the more criticism you invite. The bigger your dream, the louder the noise around you. If you keep telling everyone your next move, you will always have to fight battles with opinions before you even face the real challenges of your journey, and these battles can drain you. They can slow you down. That is why silence often works better than explanation. When you stay silent, you give no space for unnecessary criticism. When you act instead of speak, you let your results speak louder than their opinion. You will also notice that the people who criticize the most are often the ones who are doing the least. It is easy to sit in the stands and shout at the player on the field. The player is sweating, falling, rising again, and giving everything to the game, while the critic is sitting comfortably doing nothing. You must remind yourself of this. If someone has not walked your path, if they have not faced your challenges, their criticism has no real value. Don't let free words from an uninvolved spectator decide the direction of your life. Support, however, can come in small but powerful forms. It can be someone saying, "I believe in you, keep going." It can be someone reminding you of how far you have come when you feel stuck. It can be someone simply listening without judgment. Those moments of support may seem small, but they have the power to keep you moving forward when you feel like quitting. That is why you should guard your story carefully and share it with those rare people who lift you instead of pulling you down. At the core, criticism will always be everywhere, but support will always be scarce. The difference between those who rise and those who fall is not the amount of criticism they receive, but how they respond to it. If you waste your energy on every critic, you will collapse under the weight of their words. But if you choose to treasure the rare support and ignore the noise, you will keep moving forward with strength and clarity. There is a special kind of power in silence. Many people feel the need to constantly explain themselves, to justify their choices, and to convince others why their dreams make sense. They go around telling their story, hoping people will believe in them, hoping people will support them, hoping people will cheer for them. But the truth is, the world doesn't really listen to stories without results. People listen when they see proof, and that is why letting success be the storyteller is far more effective than trying to explain your journey to everyone you meet. When you are still building, your story is incomplete. It is like showing someone the foundation of a house and asking them to imagine the finished mansion. Most people won't see it. They will look at the dirt, the dust, the empty land, and they will say, "This is nothing." You're wasting your time. But when the mansion is finally standing tall, the same people will walk by in silence, or they will suddenly act like they always believed in you. This is human nature. People respect results more than effort, they respect outcomes more than intentions, and they respect success more than struggle. That is why it is wiser to stop wasting energy trying to explain and simply focus on achieving. Letting success be the storyteller does not mean hiding forever. It means you learn to let your actions speak louder than your words. Instead of saying, "I am going to build a business," you actually build it. Instead of announcing, "I will change my life," you quietly change it. And when people finally see the difference, you don't need to explain how it happened. The results explain everything for you. This is more powerful than any speech because people cannot argue with success. They may doubt your words, but they cannot deny your results. Many people lose momentum because they tell their story too early. They reveal their plans, their dreams, their next big move, and in doing so, they invite doubt, criticism, and jealousy before the seed has even had time to grow. It's like digging up a seed every day to show people it's growing. In reality, the seed needs to stay underground, hidden, and nurtured until it breaks through the soil. Your success works the same way. If you keep showing it too soon, it may never reach its full strength, but if you let it grow quietly, one day it will stand strong enough for everyone to see. People will always have opinions. If you tell them your story while you are still in the middle of it, they will give you advice you never asked for. They will tell you what you should or shouldn't do, even if they have never done it themselves. This noise can distract you. It can make you second. Guess your own decisions, but when you stay quiet and let your work do the talking, you remove their power to interfere. You create space for focus, and focus is what brings success. Think of history's great innovators, leaders, and creators. Most of them were misunderstood at the beginning. If they had spent all their time trying to explain their vision, they might have lost their belief. But they didn't. They let their success tell the story. They built, they created, they pushed forward in silence, and when the results came, the whole world paid attention. This is a lesson for all of us: silence while building, noise only when results are undeniable. There is also another advantage to letting success be the storyteller. It humbles your critics. When you argue with critics using words, you give them equal ground. They can argue back, dismiss you, or mock you. But when you answer them with success, there is no argument left. Success silences doubters in a way that explanations never can. You don't need to prove yourself anymore. The evidence speaks louder than anything they could say. And remember, people believe what they see more than what they hear. You can tell someone 1,000 times that you are working hard, but until they see the results, they won't truly believe it. The moment they see you succeed, everything changes. Suddenly, the same people who ignored you may start to respect you. The same people who doubted you may try to associate with you. This is why it is pointless to chase validation with words. True validation comes from results, and results come from focus, discipline, and silence. Letting success tell the story also teaches patience. Because you know you won't reveal everything yet, you become more committed to the process. You stop rushing to impress people and instead focus on actually becoming impressive. You stop seeking applause and start seeking progress. And in time, progress brings the kind of applause that no speech could ever create. The applause of reality, the applause of undeniable achievement. So, while others waste their time talking about what they will do, you use your time doing it. While others try to convince the world with words, you convince the world with results. Success becomes the storyteller that never needs defending, never needs explaining, and never needs validation. Because success, once visible, speaks louder than any story ever could. Every story has value, but that value depends on who is listening. If you stand in front of the wrong crowd, your words will fall flat, no matter how powerful your message is. If you share your journey with people who are filled with doubt, jealousy, or negativity, they will twist your story into something it was never meant to be. On the other hand, if you share with people who believe in growth, who understand struggle, who respect resilience, your story can inspire them and even plant seeds of hope in their own lives. Choosing the right audience is not just about communication, it is about protection, growth, and wisdom. You see, people interpret your story through the lens of their own experiences. If someone has never dreamed big, they cannot understand your big dream. If someone has always chosen safety, they cannot understand why you take risks. If someone has lived in fear of failure, they will not understand why you keep trying after falling so many times. So when you tell them your story, they don't see it as courage, they see it as foolishness. They don't see it as resilience, they see it as wasting time. This is why many dreams die too early, because they were shared with the wrong audience. Choosing the right audience means first understanding that not everyone is meant to hear your journey. Some people are not ready for your story because it threatens their comfort zone. When you speak about growth, it reminds them of how long they've stayed stagnant. When you speak about sacrifice, it reminds them of how many shortcuts they've taken. And instead of being inspired, they feel exposed. Their natural reaction is to pull you down with them, so they don't feel left behind. If you give your story to such people, you are handing them a weapon they can use to discourage you. But when you choose wisely, your story can become a light for others. When you share it with mentors, with people who believe in progress, or with those who genuinely care about you, they do not use your story against you. Instead, they help you sharpen it. They guide you, they encourage you, and they remind you of your strength when you forget it. The right audience does not laugh at your failures. They learn from them with you. They do not mock your ambition. They feed it with wisdom, and sometimes the right audience is not many people. Sometimes it is just one or two individuals who truly understand and believe in you. Think of your story as a seed. If you throw it on concrete, nothing grows, but if you plant it in fertile soil, it becomes a tree. The soil is your audience. The wrong audience will never allow your story to grow into something meaningful. They will dismiss it, ignore it, or step on it. The right audience, however, will water it with encouragement and protect it until it becomes strong enough to stand on its own. That is why you must be selective. A seed is too valuable to be wasted on ground where nothing grows. Another important lesson in choosing the right audience is understanding timing. Sometimes, even the right people cannot handle your story if you tell it too early. Your journey might still be fragile, your confidence might still be shaky, and their honest feedback, though well-intentioned, might discourage you. That is why silence during the early stages is powerful. Wait until your story is strong enough to survive outside voices. Then, share it with people who can help it grow further. Timing and audience together determine how your story will be received. Choosing the right audience also means protecting your emotional energy. When you share with people who constantly doubt you, you spend all your energy defending yourself instead of focusing on your mission. But when you share with the right people, your energy multiplies because they add to it instead of taking from it. They push you forward instead of holding you back, and in a journey where energy is already limited, surrounding yourself with the right audience is not just a choice, it is survival. There will always be people who want to hear your story for the wrong reason. Some are curious but not supportive. Others are waiting for you to fail so they can say, "I told you so." These are not your audience. These are spectators who have no role in your growth. You do not owe them your story. You do not owe them explanations. The people who deserve to hear your story are those who will guard it, respect it, and grow with it. At the same time, choosing the right audience does not mean surrounding yourself only with people who agree with you. The right audience also challenges you, but in a constructive way. They don't criticize to destroy, they question to help you improve. They don't laugh at your mistakes, they help you learn from them. This is the difference between critics and mentors. Both may point out flaws, but one does it to discourage you, while the other does it to develop you. Choosing the right audience means knowing which voice deserves your attention. Your story is your identity, your history, and your future. It is too precious to be placed in careless hands. If you choose the wrong audience, you may feel drained, doubted, or mocked. But if you choose the right audience, your story becomes a source of power, for you and for them. It becomes something that multiplies instead of diminishes, something that inspires instead of discourages. Something that builds instead of destroys. Your story is the most valuable thing you carry. It holds your struggles, your sacrifices, your lessons, and your dreams. But wisdom lies in understanding that not everyone deserves access to it. When you share it too freely, you expose yourself to unnecessary criticism, you waste your limited energy, and you risk planting seeds in soil that cannot help them grow. Criticism is cheap and always available, while true support is rare and must be treasured. That is why it is better to let your success speak louder than your words, to build quietly and reveal your story only when the results are undeniable. And even then, the real power lies in choosing the right audience, those who respect your journey, who water your growth, and who celebrate your progress instead of mocking your steps. In the end, silence, discipline, and focus protect your story until it becomes strong enough to inspire the world on its own.